Hello, BookTube. We've got some mail, so our streak continues, although once again, it being Saturday, I have a feeling the streak will just end. Because it was hard enough for me to have leftover mail on Sundays, even when I was getting bombarded with mail. Having leftover mail on Sunday, every once in a while we'll get somebody on a weekend driver who doesn't time things right or leaves my neck of the woods until the very last thing. So I get mail at night. Literally in the dark. I get mail at 9 at night or something like that. Long after Frida and I have come in for the evening, long after I am fully ensconced in work, in writing, so that my surly houseboy has to find this stuff on the porch and just leave it out for me the next morning. That's happened every Sunday for quite a while now, but I can't imagine it's going to continue. We don't have much today. We have two things, a box and a package. So let's see. The box, I'm pretty sure, is from a publisher, which is rarer and rarer these days, so I'm happy to see it. Yes, this is from a publisher. This is, the date on it is for early June. I don't know if that'll stay true. This is from Princeton University Press. It's The Decline and Rise of Democracy, A Global History from Antiquity to Today. So not a very long thing for such a big subject, by David Stasavage, who is the Dean of Social Sciences and Julius Silver Professor of Politics at New York University. So this is The Decline and Rise of Democracy. Historical accounts of democracy's rise tend to focus on ancient Greece and pre-Renaissance Europe. This book draws from global evidence to show that the story is much richer. Democratic practices were present in many places at many other times, from the Americas before European conquest to ancient Mesopotamia to pre-colonial Africa. Delving into the prevalence of early democracy throughout the world, the author makes the case that understanding how and where these democracies flourished and when and why they declined can provide crucial information not just about the history of governance, but also about the ways modern democracies work, where they could manifest, and where they could manifest in the future. Okay, that's a fairly interesting take there. So he's not going to the usual precursors, the usual ideas of democracy that people go to. It's entirely right. 5th century Athens, the High Renaissance, especially the republics of the Renaissance, people go straight to those. But this author is saying that proto-democracies existed in places that most of those kinds of surveys don't cover. That sounds fascinating to me. So I'll be, this is June the 2nd, that's right around the corner, so I will put it on my list to do right away. In fact, probably this week sometime. And then we have this package, and the way it's packed, I think it's probably an online order of some kind. So now I'm perversely actually hoping that it's not a present from one of you. You people are going out of your way to give me presents, and that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. So let's see what we have here. Oh yes, okay. Fantastic. All right, fantastic. Yes, indeed. Okay, great. These are orders. They are online orders, used book orders, but I did them myself. That racket that you hear is the baby Judy. She's staring at that box. She's had enough of its antics, so she's staring at it. Baby, nobody can hear me. Oh, are you attacking that? Nobody can hear me. And you've got cardboard all over your whiskers now. Do you want to see your fans? Oh, ooh. Let's look at your fans. Oh, look at all those people. What are they doing? Oh, they're in quarantine just like you are. You're a quarantine puppy. You are. You're a quarantine puppy. Oh. These are two books that I ordered myself online. Very nice. Very glad to have them. Because I was in Marsathon. Marsathon is a reading event that I'm doing with a bunch of other booktubers who appear not to make videos anymore. I swear it's not me. I smell, but it doesn't come through the camera. Where we're reading the Mars novels of Edgar Rice Burroughs, one book at a time per month. And we had a long discussion. We do a live stream every month for Marsathon as well. And baby, nobody can hear me. Bean. Here, maybe if you're further away from the microphone, let me throw this over to your blanket. Maybe that'll work. I don't know. I spoil my dogs. If you didn't know that about me, I spoil my dogs. Anyway, we had a live stream. We had a live stream for the second Edgar Rice Burroughs Mars book, and it, as usual, spilled over the banks of talking about Gods of Mars and started talking about science fiction just in general. And Mike at Pints and Paperbacks is one of the people in that live discussion. He is actually the main host of Marsathon. And in that rambly conversation about great science fiction and fantasy, he brought up one of his favorite works, which is The Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe. And in that discussion, which was a little bit wonky for me, my audio and visual kept knocking out on me, and then I would repair, and then it would come back. I don't know why that was, and I'm hoping that it's better if we ever have another live stream. But during that discussion, I suddenly realized that I don't have these books by Gene Wolfe. So I ordered them. And here they are. These are 2 trade paperbacks, and these don't look bad at all. I will clean them up, but they don't look bad at all. This is so Shadow and Claw is the first 2. This is the Shadow the Torturer and the Claw of the Conciliator. And these trade paperbacks. I once had these. I once had the 4 of these books in a box set of Mass Markets. Boy, I wish I still did. No idea where I could find Mass Market Gene Wolfe anymore. But I'll take this, absolutely. And then the second one is Sword and Citadel, and it is the Sword of the Lictor and the Citadel of the Autarch. So I have the Gene Wolfe now that can just go on the science fiction shelf. I'll clean these off first, because they've got odd markings on them. I'm not quite sure I understand what these markings are. They look almost like sunburn fingerprints. Maybe that's part of the cover design, but I don't remember that being so. And why would you make a cover design that would lead everybody to think the cover was dirty? No, I think that might just be, maybe the picture is maybe those are supposed to be the folds of cloth or something on which these things show. Well, one way or another, I will give these a thorough cleaning anyway, and put them on the shelf, because I am hoping somewhere down the line, whether Pints and Paperbacks is involved or not, I'm hoping somewhere down the line that there is a Book of the New Sun read-along, because I'd love to do that in company. I'm all for read-alongs. So there you go. That's great. Okay, so we have a new book and some old books. We have The Decline and Rise of Democracy by Dan Stasevage, looking for democracy in all the unusual places. And then we have Gene Wolfe, a series that was regarded, even when he finished it, when the ink was still dry on the last book, a series that was regarded as a classic of science fiction. A science fiction fantasy. Gene Wolfe really had little patience for, although he wrote it really well, he had little patience for some of the usual cliches and gimmicks of either subgenre. I think science fiction and fantasy are just 2 sides of the same coin. I don't think there's much of a difference between them, but I know a lot of purists do. And I had the enormous pleasure of talking with Gene Wolfe a couple of times at length in the back room of a used bookstore in Boston a long time ago, and it was a delight, an absolute delight. And that room often filled with authors, those are great memories. And he talked a little about this series to everybody else in that room. At the time, I had not read it, but one person in the room had. An author whose name you would know said, I read it and I didn't understand a bloody word of it. and Gene Wolfe seemed distinctly complimented by that. I don't know how that works, but still, that was great. That's fantastic. So now I have those. The nostalgic part of me thinks, well, don't you want the mass market paperbacks that you fell in love with these books? I originally fell in love with them in Timescape mass market paperbacks, but I have no idea where those paperbacks would be available or how expensive they would be. God knows if you could even find a box set. Those things would have to, they would have to have survived for 40 years. And they weren't made to do that. So I don't imagine that such things exist. But now I have these, and that's great. Although, now that I have Kindle Paperwhite, the first thought I have is to get these electronically. But I have them now as books. So I will clean these up and get to work on that democracy book. Great. All right, so that is your Saturday mail. Wonderful. So I'll wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.